Good afternoon. I've been trying to start streaming for like an hour, and it seems like every time I've gotten up, there's been something keeping me from coming back to the desk and getting started. But we're here now. So, um, my plan is for today is to basically go back to some work that I was doing on learning about transformers using a book called Build a Large Language Model. And so that's what I'm going to be working on today. Hey, what's up, Arkin? What's up, Butterscotch? How are you? Yes, Arkin, behold, I am streaming. I'm trying to be more disciplined about it and get back to a regular schedule after taking a couple weeks of being very laissez-faire. Oh, that's funny. Yeah. Well, there you go, Butterscotch. You got your answer. You didn't have to drop a message. Hey, what's up, Suhas? Good to see you, man. Excuse me. How are y'all doing today? I'm guessing you guys are doing relatively well, seeing as you're here watching me stream. Suhas, WhatsApp? Or did you mean what's up? I stopped reading the book. Oh, yeah, I've kind of been jumping in and out, but I've been trying to get back to it. So that's what we're doing today. We're getting back to it. So I don't expect don't be surprised if it's kind of a boring stream. Because it's going to be a stream primarily focused on learning. Butterscotch building an LLM from scratch. Not necessarily from scratch. This book basically kind of walks you through the general architecture of how transformers are put together, and you sort of code up the individual building blocks and then wire them together, and you have sort of a really small, tiny transformer. And then I think a little bit later in the book, it actually walks you through using some existing weights. I think they're GPT-2 weights that you use in the model. But yeah, it's so far it's been pretty interesting. I think the big in terms of like using a whiteboard. Okay, yeah, I could probably do that. So how do I? Can I go to that? Oh yeah, I think it's that. Maybe use Excalidraw. Maybe Excalidraw would be better. So basically, there's like the general idea is there's kind of multiple steps that are involved, or multiple, I guess they'd call them layers. I don't know. I'm calling them steps that are involved in the processing of the input and then getting an output out, right? So like you put 4 words into the transformer and you get 5, the next predicted token out, right? So that's kind of conceptually, that's how I'm trying to understand how these transformers work, right? So the first step is basically embedding the inputs. That's the first step. So you have something like the cat, right? And typically these will be tokenized, obviously. So it'll be more like an array. The cat, right? And the first step is to take this input and create embeddings of them. And so let's just call them, and this is, you could also call them, each embedding is a vector, right? So let's say step 1, and full disclosure, I am not a data scientist. This is not what I do for a living. I'm purely just, I've worked a lot with talking to LLMs and using LLMs through APIs, and so I'm trying to do what Scott Hanselman says, and I'm trying to go kind of like one layer deeper and try to understand a little bit better about how the transformers actually work and how you go from getting an input and receiving an output. So step 1. This is step 1. I'm terrible at this. We're going to take these inputs and we are going to generate a corresponding embedding for each one, right? So this would turn into something like this. So just imagine a lot of floats here, right? Of some size. And they're going to be much bigger than just 2 numbers, but I'm just trying to make this conceptual. So I guess let's call this input embedding. Input embedding. That's kind of step 1. Once you have, tokenization. I guess you call it that too, tokenization. But like tokenization is a whole thing in terms of how you want to break up the text, right? So once you have the input, right? Like I guess this is less about what I'm talking about now is less about like the process in architecting an LLM, and this is more about the steps that are involved that a transformer goes through to get you from input to output. Right? That's more of what I'm explaining here. Because to me, that's what I want to have a good mental model. I want to have a good mental model of like when I put some text into ChatGPT, how then does it decide on what to then respond with, right? How does it come up with what it should say next? And obviously, there's way more complexities than probably I'll ever be able to comprehend or discuss. But this is kind of the first step. We gotta get the inputs and we gotta embed them. Then we need to make sure, the next step is we need to make sure that we can have some knowledge about the position of the embeddings relative to each other, right? So we have to add some sort of information about the relative or absolute position of the tokens in the input sequence, right? So we'll take the vectors, and then we're going to output a sum of the embedding and the positional information. So again, this is like a whole lot of math that I don't understand. But the next step would be we're going to take, let's add some text here. The next step would be, I'm going to call it positional encoding. How about that? Positional encoding. And so then theoretically we should have the input embeddings that we got from, or the embeddings that we generated in that first step will now come into this step. And the output is going to be basically this is going to turn into this plus something else, right? So this would be the basically some number to represent that positional information. So I'm just going to call it like position. Again, be forgiving of my level of understanding here. Also be forgiving of my ability to diagram. This should be what? This should be POS, yeah, for consistency's sake. POS. It's kind of crazy that so much of this comes down to just a lot of vectors and a lot of matrix multiplication. Okay, so now in the third step, this is where this term of self-attention comes into play. Yeah, this is the third step, is where you get into self-attention and normalization is in this third step. There's also something called a feed forward module, I believe, that's involved in this step as well. And so this is the part that I'm currently right now like learning about and working through. And at this point, that's kind of where I have to leave you, because I don't think I have a well enough working model to go on with what step 3 involves, and how you translate that into inputs and outputs quite yet. The whole idea behind the multi-head intention is to have vectors that are context aware. And there's a whole bunch of matrix multiplication and vectors that go into that. So I'm just gonna put like a box in here that's like step 3 question mark. Step 3. Yeah, I'm just gonna put like step 3 question mark, but make it big. There you go. Let's see. This is what we call what do we want to call this step? We call this step encoder. This is what we should probably call it, like encoding, encoder stack, encoder. And then step 4 is going to be decoding. Let's make this. Maybe this is a diagram I can add to as my mental model becomes more concrete. All right, and then the fifth step. The fifth step is where you actually, what do I want to call this? This would be where you do, this is where the, like, what do I want to call this? This is where you have, this is where you basically make, you make, it's basically you resize decoder to vocab. And then the other thing you do here is you apply the softmax. Softmax. In which case, at this point, you get your... at this case, you basically get distribution, right? Probability distribution over your vocabulary of words, and then you pick the word that has the highest probability, or based on whatever temperature, however you're performing that softmax calculation, you basically select then the output, and then you map that output back to your vocabulary. So we'll fill these in as we go. But as you can see, my understanding becomes very fuzzy after the first two steps, and that's because I'm still learning. Softmax, is this calculus? Well, the math that's involved in these transformers is way beyond beyond any of my existing skill set. So a lot of it is I'm not claiming to understand all the math. I'm just trying to... Hey, Kyler, can you stop doing that? I'm just trying to understand the overall big picture of, like, some text goes in to these transformers. What sort of happens in the middle here, and how do you get some text out, right? How do you get some correct text out? And then also, how does that temperature setting influence the variability of the text that gets produced, right? So I'm just trying to have a better working mental model of the whole thing. Suas, I love this. It sounds like Suas. It sounds like you know way more than I do. So I will totally defer to anything Suas says. Diego, I don't understand this nerdy stuff. Yeah, I don't understand it either. I'm actively trying to learn. Suhas, I don't think it's over a word. It's over tokens, right? Yeah, but the probability, you get a probability distribution over... I don't even know. I don't want to use the wrong words, but you basically get a probability distribution over, I guess, the vector that represents the word that's in your vocabulary, or your model's vocabulary, is how I understand it, right? That's that whole idea of Q. You have the query, you have the key, and then you have the value. Butterscotch, I watched some video from Andre Karpathy on building GPT from scratch. I didn't understand shit, but it was interesting. Yeah, and I think that's one of the things is, like, you can't expect to have a deep understanding just by going through or reading one book, right? Or watching a single video, right? These people dedicate their whole disciplines to this stuff. But I want to be able to just have a better mental model, a deeper understanding than just, somebody walking off the street, right? I am at the point, though, where I can actually, I have a little GPT model, I think, that is put together now. I can't remember exactly where I left off with the coding part of this. Yeah, so I have a GPT model that I've put together, wired together all the different modules. And then, am I actually using that yet? No, I'm not using that yet. So we should be able to do what they're saying in this book. Where did I leave off? Yeah, left off right here. So I'm at the point where I can actually start generating some text. Arkin, I thought that this crown thingy YouTube puts alongside is yap factor, but after seeing Suhas's endeavor end up in vain after all this yapping, my hypothesis is proven wrong. Yeah, I have no idea what the top fan icon thing is meant for, how it's calculated. It's a completely new thing. I do not understand. Suhas, 3 blue, 1 brown is also good. 3 blue, 1 brown. Is that a paper? Or what is that? Oh, it's a YouTube channel. Okay. Very cool. Yeah, I don't know exactly how deep I want to go on this topic, you know? Like beyond the book, I'm not sure how much more I'll do with it. Like I'm not so certain like I want to do work in this field. But I do want to be able to kind of like when people are talking, right? I want to be able to be like, yeah, I kind of get what you mean when you say feed forward. And I get what you're, and when someone says soft max, I want to sort of be able to articulate, like I understand what the significance of that is. Butterscotch, you wrote Python? Yes, the book is all in Python, but I think you could probably do it in TypeScript. I'm not 100% certain. I don't know enough about the libraries and the technologies in this space to say, but yeah, the book's all in Python, so I jumped on the Python train. Can we download the PDF? You have to buy the book to get access to the PDF. The book, when I bought the book, it was like $50, but I think right now it's going for like $26 when I looked at it on the Manning website. So it's not super expensive now, but it was kind of expensive when I bought it. Arkin, who's number 1 right now? All 3 main homies are here. Arkin, you're number. It looks on my screen. It shows Arkin's number 1 at the moment. Suhas, it's not a feed-forward neural network. It is a multi-layered perceptron. That's a better way of understanding. I I can't even tell you what some of those words mean. So I'll have to take your word for it at this point. I'm just using the vocabulary that I'm getting from the book. So if it's wrong, I'll defer to you. A Python a day keeps Steven away. Yeah. Yeah, I really want to learn something if I'm willing to to take a trip into Python land. Alright, so we're going to generate some text. We will now implement the code that converts the tensor outputs of the GPT model back into text. Before we get started, let's briefly review how a generative model like an LLM generates text 1 word at a time. With each iteration, the input context grows, allowing the model to generate coherent and contextually appropriate text. We've seen that our current GPT model implementation outputs tensors with the shape of batch size, number of tokens, and vocab size. So that our vector, that's the shape of our vectors, or tensors. Which can, let's see, tensor versus vector. Okay, so a vector is a tensor, but not all tensors are vectors. All right. These steps include decoding the output tensors, selecting tokens based on a probability distribution, and converting these tokens into human-readable text. Yeah, so that's this part, step 4 and step 5. Decoding, and then calculating the probability distribution. Tensor is a vector with a dimension, I think. Muhundin? Muhundin? Sorry if I mispronounced your name. But yeah, hi man, how are you? Good to see you. My Python don't want unless you got. Yeah, I mean, that's Arkin, yes. All right, so I think this picture is pretty good. This picture is actually probably better than what I was trying to draw here, right? This picture is actually like this picture is probably something I'm gonna probably save. This is the mental model that I want to try to commit to my brain. LLM mental model input to output. So you encode your text into 4 token IDs. There you go. So that's where we're creating our vocab. The GPT model returns a matrix consisting of 4 vectors, where each vector has 50,257 dimensions. So then we extract the last vector, which corresponds to the next token that the GPT model is supposed to generate. Then we convert the logits, or I guess this is the output from the GPT model, into probability distribution by applying the softmax function. Then we identify the index position of the largest value, and that represents the token ID that we want to get. And the token ID is 257, so in our vocab we would get A. So all of this is not really a part of the GPT, of the transformer. Butterscotch, I don't know shit. Me neither, Butterscotch. I'm a learner. I'm not a know-it-all. I'm a learn-it-all. I will have to defer to chat on the math. I did take calculus, and I took calculus in college, but that was the last time I did any serious math, and that would have been 10 years ago at this point. Okay, generate text simple. So we have our model. We have ADX is a batch array, or is a array of indices in the current context. Max new tokens, I guess that limits the number of tokens we'll generate, and then the context size. Focuses only on the last step so that this becomes that. Okay, so this is the output in this code right here. This right here is this. Then we use PyTorch's softmax to get the probability. And then we do Torch's argmax function to get the max value from the probability. And then we just combine IDX next with IDX. Append sampled index to the running sequence where IDX has the shape batch in tokens plus 1. Okay. Well, let's see if this works with the model I've written so far. I should probably copy and pasting is probably not the best strategy here. I'm guessing a lot of people have typed this code before, so Copilot's like, I know, tell me. Let me write it. Okay. So we're here. Let's see, generate text using our GPT model. Yeah, I would Ark and Suhas. I defer to you guys. Whatever you all say. Oops. Okay, so, and obviously I'm just copying this code from that book. I just put the book off to the side here so I could. So for in range of max new tokens, and then we'll say IDX conditional equals IDX, and this is a list. This is list comprehension, right? In Python, what I'm doing right now. Context size. I think that's what it's called. Yeah, list comprehension Python. Yeah. No, that's not what I'm after. What is it called when I say, let's see, Python colon operator in list? What is that? Start end step. So we're basically saying we're taking all of it up to the context size, I guess is what we're taking. All right, I'm not going to get too hung up in the syntax, but I can always ask ChatGPT to explain it to me. Okay, so then we'll say with torch.noGrad, which I'm not really sure. What is torch no grad? Butterscotch, that's not list comprehension, that's indexing. Yes, as I was just educated. It's been a while since I've typed any Python. Anime Killer, hello Anime Killer. Tolu came to say sup. What's up, Tolu? Thanks for stopping by and saying hi. Suos, training is way too complicated when it comes to large language models. It's better to use an existing one or fine-tune one. Yeah, and I think this book, after we get through this little like dummy small little GPT example, I think the next thing is they're gonna teach how to use existing weights in your own model, and then how to fine-tune as well. I think this the initial few chapters are just to help kind of lay a foundation, right? A good mental model, and have you express that in code of like how the transformers are built. But I don't think there's any expectation that you'd actually build a large language models from scratch, right? Google says torch.nograd is a context manager in PyTorch that disables gradient calculations within its scope. Huh. Yeah, I'm not sure the significance of that, but that's what they're telling me to type, so that's what I'm going to type. Okay, so now we got our logits. I don't know how the proper way to pronounce that. We have our model. Okay. And then we're going to do another index here. And then we're going to calculate the probs. And then we are going to say IDX next. So this is the index. The index of the largest probability. Argmax. And then we want keep dim equals true. And then now we're just gonna put the next one. We're gonna pin the next one to our existing list. Although, why is this complaining? Why is this complaining? Is this defined somewhere else? Oh, I must have logics defined somewhere else. In any event, now we just return that guy. Alright, now we'll see if this works, huh? Okay, start context equals hello. I am. We'll center the code like Butterscotch taught me. Suas, I think you should scroll up and look at my conversation with Arkin. What? Arkin said, get a life, helping in chat ain't gonna cut it. Yeah, I don't know. I don't get it. Butterscotch, you should define it before the while loop. Well, I think it's complaining because I'm assigning to it, and it's defined somewhere else in this file. Yeah, see, it's up here at the top. I think if I just use a different variable name, right? If I just use a different variable name, it should be fine. I mean, that is a good point, though. How does... Yeah. Anywho, okay, I'm not going to get hung up on that, because whenever I see squigglies, it distracts me. I feel like I need to address them. Vision, hey, you should try Linux. Oh, I haven't tried Linux as a daily driver, but I have used Ubuntu quite a bit. So I have WSL set up here on my machine, obviously for local dev, but then I do have 2 VPSs that are Ubuntu. I'm just not totally sold on the idea of a Linux daily driver for somebody who does development but also does some content creation. I kind of like the Windows dev environment myself, and just the general Windows environment. I was a long-time Mac user, and then I had some kids. I got a family, and now I can't justify having or paying Apple prices for computers. So now I guess you'd call me a Windows fanboy. I also really like the people who work on the development side of the house at Microsoft. So nothing against Linux. I'm not sold on using it as a daily driver quite yet. Oh yeah, I mean, college dropout. I mean, I don't think whether or not you attended college or made it through college is a good proxy for intelligence or ability. Listen to us, we're college dropouts. Yeah, I mean college dropouts, right? They run the world. All right, where was I in this? Hold on, I was gonna try to use my function here to generate some text. All right, encoded tokenizer dot encode. Also, I need to change this song. There you go, that's better. Shit, I lost my high risk, high reward, baby. Yeah, that's right, you know? Go big or go home. All right, so we'll print the encoded because that's what they're telling me to do. Then we'll get the tensor. So we'll say torch.tensor, encoded, and it wants me to do unsqueeze 0, which again, I'm not 100% certain what all this code does. I'm not trying to get too hung up on it. All right, so let's try this. Python, yep, main. This is going to print out a whole bunch of stuff, but what we're worried about is this at the bottom. So these are the encoded IDs. And then this is the shape of that tensor. Okay. All right, and then we need to do model.eval at this point. Yep. And then we need to generate our simple text. And let's put this stuff on a new line. Butterscotch, my parents would have killed me if I dropped out of college. I don't think my parents would have killed me, but they would have been pretty disappointed. I know for my mom, making it through college was a big goal that she had for all three of us kids. Not that I necessarily think that's like an important thing, but like I still, you know, as somebody who went to college, I'm not totally convinced that going to college, especially in today's world, is necessarily the best value prop given the cost of college. But yeah, I can relate butterscotch with that situation. Okay. Now let's try to print our output. And let's get the length of the output. Okay. Let's run this again. Okay, so this was the encoded IDs for the input. And then here's the result. So we have a 15. So basically the first 4 should be the same here, right? Then all these other IDs are the next 6 token IDs, which then we'll need to map back to actual text using our vocabulary. So we need to go back here, and this is where we need to say decoded text is going to use our tokenizer, which is the tokenizer has the vocabulary, and then we'll say out squeeze to list that. We should be able to print that. Let's also print the let's print what we started with. Hey, what's up, creatives? Good to see you, man. My local software companies pay like $130 a month. That seems low, but I'm not familiar with where you are, Arkin. Suhas currently working. What projects are you working on, Suhas? Creatives, mind giving a short summary of what you're building? So I'm not actively, I guess, building anything per se. I'm really learning. So I bought a book called the name of the book is called Build a Large Language Model, and the book has some code in it, and it tries to explain the code, and then you can write the code and kind of implement it yourself. But the whole idea is you're trying to get an understanding of how large language models are architected, and then what a simple implementation of that architecture looks like. And then you're also going to learn about how to use, or I'm learning because I'm the one doing it, but I'm also going to learn about how you can use existing open weights in your own model, and then also how to perform fine tuning. So at the moment, I'm kind of learning about transformers and large language models. Can you share the book on the Discord server if that's okay with you? I honestly don't know if I can. I should probably. Nelson Ross, what's the book called? The book is called Build a Large Language Model from Scratch. It's this guy. Is the name of the book. I honestly probably can't share the PDF because I'm guessing that would be against copyright rules. I honestly don't know. Yeah, so I'm gonna say no, creatives, or Nelson. No, creatives. Yeah, I'm gonna say no because I don't want anyone suing me. Now, if you can find the PDF yourself out on the interwebs, that's I'll leave that up to you to explore. But yeah, that's the book. Yeah, of course. Yeah. All right, let's try to run this now. We should have our finished sentence now. It says, "Hello, I am," and then it says the decoded text says, "Hello, I am. Feature Iman Bizwick attribute argue." So obviously my model is very, very bad. But that is what I'm supposed to get. So if I look what the book has in it, that does line up with what the book said. So I at least typed the code right. Let's see, it says, as you can see, the model generated gibberish, which is not at all like the coherent text, "Hello, I am model ready to help. What happened?" The reason the model is unable to produce coherent text is that we haven't trained it yet. So far, we have only implemented the GPT architecture and initialized the GPT model instance with initial random weights. Okay, so I haven't done anything with so my model is not trained. Okay, so that's good to know. See, model training is a large topic in itself. We will tackle it in the next chapter. Okay, cool. Oh boy. So where are we? We're here? We're still here. We're right here. We just built the LLM architecture, and now we're at pre-training. That's what we're doing now. Butterscotch is very helpful. Butterscotch has leveled me up in my Vim Foo skills time and time again. Monkey Man, I've been learning Python for the past 3 days. I've been learning about 8 hours today. Might be time to retire for the night. I'm low-key fried. Yeah, 8 hours of learning anything would fry anybody. That's pretty intense, man. Okay, so do we want to look at the pre-training stuff? I guess we should. How long have I been live for? Almost an hour? I guess we'll take a little gander here through here. All right. Let's see. Thus far, we have implemented the data sampling and attention mechanism and coded the LLM architecture. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. I don't know why I didn't stop to think that I haven't actually trained the model. So you have to obviously architect and code the model first before you can actually get to a point where you can train it. So that makes sense, right? How do you train something you haven't architected or built? Monkey Man, trying to get somewhat competent by the end of summer. Nice, dude. Well, I think that's a wonderful goal. I mean, I think anything in tech, I mean, any skill in general, right, is just, it's like a never-ending journey, right? You start as a beginner, you reach some level of proficiency, but like, you never stop learning. So, I think that's a wonderful goal. Are you learning it for a particular reason? I'm curious. Okay, Arkin's getting wild in the chat now. Okay, we will learn about basic model evaluation techniques to measure the quality of the generated text, which is a requirement for optimizing the LLM during the training process. Moreover, we'll discuss how to load pre-trained weights, giving our LLM a solid starting point for fine-tuning. Yeah, this is what I was talking about, how we're going to use, I think we're going to use ChatGPT 2's weights. Monkey Man, I'm starting ECE in September, so it'll help with that, but mostly because I'm interested in it. Nice, yeah, pursue your interest for sure. I'm not sure what ECE is though. That's a new abbreviation for me. Definitely probably not early childhood education, is it? ECE engineering? Oh, electrical and computer engineering? Like a degree, I guess, is what you mean? Starting a degree in that field? Oh, I should probably also should make a new. I guess I didn't need to close NeoVim to do that. Chapter 5. Oops. Should be a directory. Chapter 5. I'm looking to potentially go into software engineering in the future or comp architecture. Yeah. Oh, very cool. Yeah, man, that sounds awesome. Yeah, Python then will be learning to write Python will be very helpful for that. I've done C++ before, so it helps a little. I've not done any C++. I've written a fair amount of Python, not a ton of it. I know how to write it. I kind of avoid writing it, and I've never written any. I've never written anything lower than. Well, I guess I've never really written any low-level language, really. My main programming languages that I work in are C# and TypeScript primarily at the moment. I'm losing daylight here. Okay. Let's go back to the book here. Okay, after briefly recapping the text generation from Chapter 4, we will set up our LLM for text generation, then discuss basic ways to evaluate the quality of the generated text. So we're gonna do some QA work on our LLM. Monkeyman, what do you work as? Oh, right now I work as a quality engineer. So there's my LinkedIn if you want to go do a little LinkedIn creeping on my I guess CV or resume, but my current job is as a software quality engineer focused on a web application. Which means what that means I do manual and automated testing. Oh yeah. If you ask the follow-up question to that, yeah, it basically just I do a lot of manual testing and then I do a lot of automated testing. And for the automated testing, I particularly use Playwright. I don't know if you're familiar with that technology, but it's kind of like if you've ever heard of Cypress or Selenium. It's a way to automate a browser. You know, navigate a browser, click on things, do stuff. It's a good gig. But then in my free time, I like to do web development and learn about whatever things I want to learn about. Like in this case, learn about how LLMs are built. Survive. Got any pointers on how to write research papers as a programmer? Well, the last research paper I wrote was in college. As part of my capstone course in biochemistry, I wrote a research paper on extracting a particular enzyme from the heart of a cow. So it's been a while since I've written a research paper. So I don't think I really have any good advice. I guess probably the best advice I would have to give you is figure out where you might want to get your research paper published, right? Figure out what format they accept and the things that they're looking for. Because there's definitely like established formats and guidelines for papers, but it kind of varies from scientific field to scientific field, right? How you write and present information in the math field is going to be different than how you do it in cell biology. So I guess that would be my one pointer, would be figure out what field you want to publish your paper in and what journal you might want to submit it to. But yeah, it's been a long time. It's been a long time since I had to write a research paper. right, so we are going to Sarav. I'm mostly into Web3 and cryptography. Well, that sounds cool. Cryptography sounds really cool. I don't, I mean, I also obviously don't want to shit on an area of interest for you, but the whole Web3 thing to me is kind of confusing. Like, did Web3 happen or did it not happen? Or is it gonna happen? Like, I don't really understand like the Web3 thing. And then, but cryptography for sure, that's super interesting, and you could probably uh, teach me a thing or two because I'm pretty naive when it comes to that field, right? Like I know cryptography is a thing, but I don't know much about it. Definitely not enough to write a research paper on it. All right, let's. I really hate copying pasting from this book because it pulls in. Let's see, import torch, and then from chapter 4, import GPT. Is that what I want? No, I think I want. Yeah, I want this. Import GPT model. And then I want GPT Fig. Context length is going to be 256. Embedding, embed dimensions 768. Number of heads, we're gonna have 12 heads. Number of layers, drop rate, QV bias is gonna be false. It's like why? Also, like the one thing that like I obviously know I have a ton to learn is like why are these our config values? I honestly don't know. I'm just this is what the book says to do. So at some point, there's definitely more learning that needs to happen. And then model dot eval. Okay. Rob, well, yeah, Web3 is kind of all over the place right now. People be building anything with more than one node and call it Web3. Yeah, yeah. See, that's like I hear people talk about Web3. To me, it seems like this very amorphous thing that like it was supposed to happen or it is happening, and like I'm not really sure what goes into Web3 and what doesn't. Because when I think of Web3, I immediately think of like cryptocurrency, blockchain, um, you know, the ledger. That's immediately where my brain goes to, is like trying to rebuild existing things but on blockchain technologies, which I don't even know if that's a correct definition, but that is the association that I've come up with when it comes to Web3 stuff. Okay, so we're gonna create 2 additional. And Keat, what are you building now? And Keat, I am not really building anything particularly at the moment. I don't know if you've been around, but in past streams, I've tried to work through this book called. This book is called "Build a Large Language Model." Is the name of the book, and so I've been kind of like slowly making my way through it, and so that's what I'm doing this afternoon. Is spending a little bit of time working on that. So I guess you could call this more of like a learning sesh than a building sesh. I think at the end of the day, though, once I make my way through the book, I should have at least enough knowledge to be dangerous enough to do some fine-tuning of my own with a model, and maybe we experiment with something fun. I completely lost my. There we go. Okay, so we need to also import tick token. We need to. This is, what do I want to say? This is main script for chapter 5. Alright, so Sarav, you're not alone. A lot of people think that that's Web 3, and sadly they're not wrong. The entire ecosystem is super hard to get around. Well, maybe though, maybe if you're really early on and you can help define that and be a part of it, right? Like, I think that's awesome. I mean, I would never knock anybody's area of interest, right? I don't know enough about it to probably hold a meaningful conversation with somebody. Bacon Drinker. Are you also on Twitch? I'm on mobile, and YouTube only lets me watch the vertical version of the stream. So right now there's only a vertical version of the stream. We've talked about trying to figure out a way to have a vertical version and a horizontal version. I just haven't sat down and actually tried to figure out how to do that in OBS. From all the YouTube videos I've watched, there's a plugin that I can use in OBS that will do that. But yeah, right now you're on the only version of the stream that there is at the moment. And Keat, yeah, got it. At the end, I want a new weapon for you. Yeah, I don't know what. We'll have to find something. It would be cool to take some model and fine tune it on some corpus of knowledge. Like, I don't know about what, but like just as an experiment, right? And see what the results are. It would probably be most useful to do it with something around like my job, but I don't know what. I'll have to think of that. Think of some ideas. Butterscotch. The only thing that comes to my mind when hearing about cryptocurrency is that a man got 2 pizzas for 10 Bitcoin. Yeah, what is that worth now? 10 Bitcoin? That's over $1 million now, right? Because I think Bitcoin's at 110, 117. So we're talking. What is that? How many zeros is that? Times 10? Is that $1 million? Yeah, that's a $1.1 million. That's the world's most expensive pizza. Yeah. You know, what's funny is I had a Butterscotch. Yep, you should look into it. You've grown a lot streaming horizontal. We'll bring you new viewers too. I can finally read the code. Yeah, I will definitely. How about I make a commitment that this week I sit down and I try to do some sort of test stream with horizontal and vertical. I'll just say this week we're going to try at least one time to sit down and figure that out. Suas, when I learned I can find your models, first thing I made is an AI which primary purpose is to take over the world. Yeah, how'd that go? Butterscotch. I robbed myself out of $750 of coins because I invested in a crypto token. Eesh, that's painful. Yeah, so the thing about the whole Bitcoin thing is I had a I don't this would have been 2011, 2012 maybe. Um, let's see, can we find the price of I mean everybody obviously has a story like this. Um, but let's say this would have been in 20 let's see Bitcoin price in 2013. Let's just say 2013. It was sometime between 2011 and 2013. I had this personal training client. His name was David Clymer. And every time he would come and work out and I would train him, he would talk to me about Bitcoin. And it's hard to explain because he just was one of these personalities that just he was into a lot of things and had a lot of interests and was always talking about something. And he was continually bringing up this Bitcoin thing, and it sounded interesting, but I just kind of like I never really explored it on my own. And now I go back and I kick myself because if I had listened to him closer, and even if I had bought $500 worth of it, right? Like that would be like a meaningful difference in my financial situation today. Um, I'm sure you all have stories like that too, but it's just kind of crazy to think about. If I could go, if I could go back in time. Bacon drinker. If you nice username by the way. I didn't say that to you, bacon drinker. It's a good username. If you can simulcasting to Twitch and maybe even Kick, might make sense. I think there are services that can do that for you. Yeah, I was using a service called Restream for a little while to stream to Twitch and YouTube. Um, but like Twitch is like crickets. Like there's no discoverability on Twitch. Um, so then for a little while, I used Restream to stream uh, to YouTube and TikTok. That's where the vertical format originally came from, was because I was streaming to TikTok as well. Um, and now and then I stopped, and now I'm just purely streaming to YouTube. But I do think having a vertical and a horizontal would be pretty awesome to be able to allow people to pick what format works for them. So it's definitely something I'll look at. And Key, is he a billionaire now? I don't know if he's a billionaire now, but I mean, he at that point in time he owned his own business, so he was already super well off. And I don't know what his Bitcoin holdings were. I'm sure they were. I'm sure he had something because he just talked about it all the time. He was so hardcore into the whole crypto space. Um, I haven't seen him in a long time. He was a client. He was a personal training client from like 2012 to 2015. Whenever I shut my gym down, which would have been like 2015, 2016, so like 4 or 5 years. But since then I haven't really talked to him much. Arkin, if I go back in time, I ain't changed shit. What do you mean? I feel like the only acceptable answer nowadays is if you had a time machine, the only acceptable answer to that question is to go back in time and buy Bitcoin. That's like the only acceptable answer. Suas, I told my dad to invest in NVIDIA 3 times. Then I told him to invest in Google because Google has most data and resources, which AI needs 2 times. Yeah, I'm not. I mean, yeah, if you invested in Nvidia, you were smart. Yeah. I don't really do individual stock picking. I just buy VTI. I just buy the total stock market index fund, and let it ride. Bacon drinker. I always hear people say there's no discovery on Twitch, which I find super confusing because I can't figure out how to search live streams on YouTube. Yeah, that's primarily why I've stuck with a vertical format on YouTube, is because it seems like the vertical streams show up in the shorts feed, and the shorts feed has the best discoverability right now on YouTube. So that's why I've kind of stuck with the vertical format from a streaming perspective. Um, yeah, the Twitch thing is weird. I don't know why Twitch doesn't have a lot of discoverability, but like I was streaming on Twitch for like 2 months straight, almost every day, and I'd have like 0 viewers for an hour or 2 hour long stream, versus like I can do a vertical stream on YouTube and I'll get 15 viewers, 30 viewers, you know? So, but I understand for the type of content I make, I understand that having a horizontal stream would be nice for people. I tell you what, Butterscotch, the that whole tip you gave me about centering my code with ZZ, that's become like a go-to Vim. Like I use that all the time. I'm really sad that I've been using NeoVim for like 3-4 months now. What is it? No, we're in July, so almost 6 months now, and I didn't know about that shortcut or that keybind. That was a big game changer. Butterscotch. There's a live tab. Oh, it shows how inept I am at YouTube. I didn't know there was a live tab. Arkin 1 doesn't use YouTube's search feature. Only one consumes what algorithm overlords drop on them. Well, I mean, honestly, I only use YouTube's search feature when I'm looking very specifically for like specific tutorials or guides or videos on a particular topic. I don't really use it for discoverability, though. You're right. The algorithm is whatever shows up in my homepage, and then I use my subscription tab a lot. I do use that tab quite a bit. Suas 2x means before it doubled. Oh well, Suas, you need to open yourself a little brokerage account and start making some stock picks, man. Sounds like you could have made your dad some money. You need to make yourself some money. Bacon drinker, use 0 to go to the start of a line and $ to the end of the line. I think $ goes to end. Ooh, I didn't know 0 goes to the end of a line. I've been using the caret. I've been using shift 6 to go to the start of a line, but 0 is much easier. Nice. You guys are teaching me new things every day. Butterscotch, you'll get there. I'm using Vim for almost 4 years now. Okay, I don't feel as bad about myself then. And key. Not cursor, windsurfer, copilot. So I do have copilot in here. Like obviously that is what this ghost text is. That's copilot. So I do use copilot. I haven't tried cursor and I haven't tried windsurf. I do sometimes use Copilot in VS Code because VS Code has the Copilot agent mode. So I do use that quite a bit. I use that for whenever I need to generate documentation or I need to add a bunch of like doc comments, like JS doc or XML comments to my code. I use Copilot agent mode quite a bit in VS Code to do that. But yeah, I haven't quite become much of a prompt coder, vibe coder type of person. I've tried it 3 or 4 times, and every time I try it, I walk away with this feeling of like, man, I didn't really enjoy that coding session very much. Like, obviously, I'm saying this from a perspective of like maximizing enjoyment from coding. I'm not necessarily saying this is the way to be the most productive coder. So. Suas, did you heard of Gemini Terminal? I'm very interested in that. So I do have so I pay for Gemini and I pay for Copilot, and obviously Gemini did release a CLI tool. So I have been exploring that. I haven't used it a ton. I played with it the very first time I used it, got it all set up. I had it build a tic-tac-toe game for me, where it would persist the tic-tac-toe games in a SQLite database, just to kind of see like what is this thing's capabilities and how far can I go with it. And yeah, I thought it was pretty great. The one thing I will say about it is it seems to not be aware of the environment it's running in. So it will a lot of times generate commands that are like bash or some Unix-like shell, and obviously I'm running it in PowerShell. So a lot of the times the commands it wants to use on the terminal aren't good. So that's something that I think might be a room that they could improve it. But yeah, for the most part, like it's basically like Claude code but using Gemini. So agreed. I think it's a very cool piece of technology. But yeah, I'm not, it's not that I don't think that like vibe coding or prompt driven development can't be like productive and useful. It just hasn't kind of like grabbed onto me as my preferred way of development. I tend to use tab completion a lot, and then I'll use the like chat interface of Copilot or the chat interface of Gemini quite a bit. Like I'll like talk to it like, this is what I'm trying to do. How would you accomplish it? I kind of use it like a pair programmer in that way. But those are my main like daily use cases for AI. Bacon. There are also inside motions, which I use a ton. For example, VI will visual mode select everything inside function parameters. There are loads of them. Yes, that's actually the one that that's actually another one that Butterscotch taught me, was the ability to select everything between things. So just like you said, VI double quote, right? That I've been using more and more. VI parens. Sometimes I forget though. Like that's the thing, is like I need to get better at actually using the Vim motions beyond just JK, and I think that will just come with time. Suhas, I complained about this to Google bug report area. They still didn't fix it. What happened to Google resources, man? Yeah, I don't know. I think a lot of the big tech companies, resourcing seems to be something that is kind of a scarcity at the moment. I feel bad for all those people who are getting laid off from Microsoft. It's a terrible situation. Butterscotch, not vibing with the vibe of vibe coding. Yeah, pretty much. That's my general feeling at the moment. Tab completion for indenting code. How many layer stacks is an overkill? I'm not sure. Pafindo information. I'm not sure I understand what you're saying. That one went over my head. It's not a you problem, it's a me problem. Bacon, I used to keep a post-it note on my desk with 3 motions I wanted to learn that week or month as a reminder to use them. That's a really, really good idea. That's a very dedicated type of like dedicated structured practice. I like that a lot. Butterscotch, if suffering improves my deep understanding of coding, why not? I mean, it's valid. It's valid. I was listening to that interview with DHH on the Lex Friedman podcast the last couple days, and there's a clip in there where they kind of talk about vibe coding or the kind of prompt driven development, you know, whatever you want to call it. And DHH talks about how, like, you know, he uses AI, but like he still likes to type code. Like the way he described it was he still likes to hand chisel his code. And I kind of agree with him a little bit. And I also agree with him. He talked about how one of the things that he doesn't like about using AI tools when he's writing code is because he feels like when he does use those tools, he feels like he can feel the competence leaving his fingers, which I really empathize with. If you've used like for example, if you use Copilot a lot and you're just used to tab to write a bunch of code, the minute you toggle Copilot off, there's 2 things that happen. One, you all of a sudden have become very aware that you have this, what I call a Copilot pause, where you know you need to write some code, but all of a sudden you're waiting for someone else to write it, which feels not great. Like you're like, why am I pausing all the time? And then 2, there's this the minute you turn it off, there's this deep drop off in productivity that takes like 100 or maybe 200 lines of code to sort of get yourself back up to productivity where you're used to writing code without Copilot, you know, tab completing 10 lines for you, right? So there's this, I really resonated with that, with this idea that like sometimes when I'm using AI tools, I can feel the competence leaving me. And that's a little bit of a scary feeling. I understand the whole productivity thing. I understand why people are so excited about these tools that allow developers to just, for lack of a better word, to just shit out code, like large amounts of code. But I'm not necessarily optimizing for productivity a lot of the times. I'm optimizing for my own enjoyment and my own learning. So yeah, that's a whole thing, right? That's a whole conversation. We could make many videos on this topic, couldn't we? I adore DHH. He is just so passionate. Yeah, it's wonderful to listen to him in any interview. He can go on and on and on about anything, right? It's good. It's great to have opinions. Bacon drinker. I'm a big fan of DHH. I love his thing about how gratifying being competent is. Yes, I love that as well. Big mindset shift for you. Yeah, I agree with that. So I have no internet because I moved houses, and I thought of writing a quick terminal-based chess engine, I realize how much I have depended on tab complete. Yeah, Suos, exactly that. That exact sentiment of turning Copilot off and being like, oh, I haven't been writing code for the last week and a half. Copilot's been writing code for the last week and a half. That's the feeling that doesn't feel great. Right there. That's exactly that feeling. Like, and that has been resonating so much with me lately that a lot of times I've just been disabling Copilot, and I've only been using the like the chat interfaces of AI tools like Gemini.google.com or Claude.ai to interact. And I'll just copy paste code over, and I'll ask questions, and I'll kind of interrogate it and ask it to kind of show me how you would do this. But then I'll actually go back to my editor and implement it myself because of that feeling of like, oh man, I was really relying on Copilot a lot. Butterscotch. Millennials used Control-C, Control-V, Gen spam tab. Gen Z spam tab. Yes, everyone spams tab nowadays. Wait until you learn there are people who program in Java and don't use IDE LSP. Well, that's a whole nother thing, right? Because I think if I had to go back to the days where everyone wrote code in Notepad++ without any autocomplete or IntelliSense, I honestly don't know if I would have enjoyed being a programmer or a developer. Like, so I'm guessing we're going through this generational transformation where that each generation has gone through, right? Because there was probably programmers who are like, I disable LSP because I find it distracting and it takes away my competence. I don't use IntelliSense. And now Copilot tab completion is like the next evolution of that. Pafindo, Copilot pause, great term. I buy that. Yeah, Copilot. Who did I hear say that? I stole that from somebody, and I can't remember who. But it is funny because you can watch developers or you can watch programmers on videos, and you can tell very clearly that like they use Copilot a lot because they have this rhythm to them where they type a few letters and then they wait, and then they type a few letters and then they wait. And whenever Copilot isn't like being Johnny on the spot, that pause shows up it's like very magnified, right? Hey, what's up, Inspire? Good to see you again. I hope you're doing well. Pafindo information. Tab spammers with high wagers. Yeah, true that. Suos, I would still enjoy coding, but it would be very slow. Yeah, I think. Yeah, that, and I think that's where, without IDE, without IntelliSense, there's just a lack of feedback, right? A lack of, like the feedback you get that what you typed is correct is much longer, right? Because you actually have to type it, then compile it and run it, or type it, compile it, and it breaks, right? So yeah, the feedback loop there is much slower without those modern day tools. Arkin, I am that one guy who programs Java in plain Vim, and I'm a Zoomer. Well, that's hardcore, because I just don't think, I don't want that level of I don't want that level of hand chiseling, which I think DHH is kind of at that level. Like, I think I don't know if he uses LSPs or IDs. I think he recently switched over to using NeoVim because of his whole Linux, his migration off Macs and onto Linux. But it sounds like he very much still uses just an editor. And I don't know how much LSP support he uses, but like, that's very hardcore. I don't know if I want to go that hardcore, but I do want to still write the code. I still do want to participate in actually writing the code. I don't want to ask AI to write my code. Suhas, I'm trying to integrate AI into NeoVim. I don't have a lot of advice there aside from I just used the Copilot plugin, and it's the Copilot plugin it's the Vim Copilot plugin, and it's made by GitHub, or at least it's. This is the one I use. Not sure if that's helpful because you might not be trying to use Copilot. You might be wanting to integrate your own AI, but that seems like it could be kind of a tall task to do on your own. Inspire, yes. Had been super busy. Would be dropping by more often now, though. Oh, awesome. Well, it's good to have you here. And no worries if you're busy, man. I know you guys have a life. I have a life. You gotta take care of that stuff. Bacon drinker. It is an interesting time to be alive. I remember people a few years ago talking about phones pushing people towards consumption. Vibe coding kind of feels like a form of consumption at the moment. Yeah, for sure. For sure. There's a lot of content being made around vibe coding that's purely vibe coding for vibe coding's sake, right? Like just to prove, like, look what I can do with cursor, or look what I can do. Like, I don't see a lot of good examples of like, look, I used cursor to implement a new feature in this legacy code base that's been being developed for the last 10 years. Like, I don't see a lot of that kind of content. I see a lot of people who are like, look at me use cursor to develop something that's never been built before from scratch to an initial prototype. That's what I see a lot of, which, while compelling, that's really not a lot of what majority of working developers do. A lot of people don't just spend all their time building greenfield projects. So yeah. Suhas, what Steven is saying is we should decrease the latency between the AI model's generations so that there's no awkwardness between tabs. That's one way to take it. Oh yeah, you don't have internet. Yeah, so you'd have to use some form of local AI. Good point, Suhas. Sorry, I forgot about that. I'm not sure. I would, in my estimation, it probably isn't trivial to build your own plugin, so I'm not sure what that would look like. Yalson, what are you working on? Yalson, I am working on, I guess right now what I'm doing is I'm getting ready to understand how to do evaluations on a transformer, a GPT model, so that I can prepare it to actually train the model. That's what I'm doing right now. Inspire. What if we're all projections, though? Oh man, we're just gonna go straight into the metaphysical. Content beyond infinity. How different are PyTorch and TensorFlow? I honestly don't know, because I have no experience with TensorFlow, and I have a small amount with PyTorch that I've gained from going through this book that I'm working through. So I wish I could give you more insight there, but I'd have to point you at I'd have to tell you to ask Gemini or ChatGPT or Claude to give you a better breakdown on that. Oh, and Inspire sounds like Inspire has experience with both, so he might be able to shed more light on that. All right, let's see if we can get this. See if we can get this working here. So start context equals every effort moves you. Tokenizer. Yep. Token IDs equals generate text simple. Oh, I think I need to import that, don't I? Yeah, I need to import that. Let's see, from import generate text simple. Do I need to? There we go. And then I need to pass in my params. We have model equals model, IDX equals text to tokens. Max new tokens, we'll set this to 10. And then context size is just going to be that. And then we're going to print that. So we're going to say print output. All right, let's see if we can make this work, huh? All right, so we do Python chapter 5 main.py, and it blew up. From layer norm, import layer norm, no module named layer norm. Is that because my import doesn't, okay. Does this need to say chapter? Okay, let's try this again. Oh, I'm gonna have to fix all these, aren't I? Why did I do this to myself? What was the error? No module named layer norm. Transformer.py. I think I'm gonna have more places to fix like that. Yeah, a lot of my imports I did that way. Feed forward. No module named GPT model. Let's see, chapter. Inspired. This is the Rashika book? Yes, that's right. Creative Hi, sorry, how many pages does the book have? The book looks like it has 370 pages in the PDF that I'm looking at, Creatives. See you, Arkin. Have a nice day. Sorry if I missed you. I missed a lot of messages. Minis Express, hey, have you code with Android Studio Flutter plugin? I've never used Flutter. I've not done any Android development, or really any mobile development. Mega Michi, I'm a German? Well, very cool. We haven't had many German folks stop by the stream, so nice to see you here. Brian, you spelled chapter wrong on line 1. Oh, yep. I did, didn't I? And I spelled it wrong here, too. Why is this complaint? Oh, that it just took a minute. And then this needs to be chapter 4. Alright, now let's try this. Now that I think I fixed all my imports. Nope, I did not. Dummy GPT model. I don't know why I didn't import relative to the root. Probably thought I was being smart or something. Okay, is that the last one? Damn. Where is that? Example DNN. I can see the chat moving out of the corner of my eye. I'm going to try not to fall behind again. There we go. But we have an issue. Oh, I ran the wrong. I've been running the wrong. There we go. Why is it running? Oh, it's because I'm importing main, isn't it? CFG num layers? Why is that? Oh, my love for Python grows and grows. This is not a Python issue. This is a Steven skill issue. Let's see. So it says num layers. It's not in there. Oh. It's because, is it because here? Yeah, I think it's because here, those should be, I changed it. The book has it as in, and I changed it to num. There we go. Okay, there we go. Okay, so we have, this is all from the other stuff. This is what we're looking at here. So every effort moves you, and then every effort moves you gibberish. I don't like all that extra output on the screen though, so I'm gonna make a little bit of a change real quick. I'm going to say, instead of importing that function, I'm just gonna copy it. Yeah, I'm just gonna copy it. So I'm just gonna put that there. And then I'm gonna come up here. and just not import that. There we go. Yeah, that's much more. It's much more succinct. Inspire. Sadly, I have a feeling I'm getting rejected. Sorry, I wasn't paying attention. Let me scroll up just a little bit. Brian, I appreciate you helping me out with my misspelling there. You're the man. Inspire. Oh, I'm more on the research side. Have 2 papers submitted to nice conferences. Very cool. Waiting for reviews. Awesome, man. That's awesome that we have somebody in the research community in the chat. Send me links. Not published yet. Would love to share a preprint soon, though. Yeah, whenever you do get published, let us know. We'd love to celebrate you and share your work. So, Steven, I forgot I passed the stream. The chat is more entertaining. That's fair. I don't claim to be an entertaining streamer. For sure. Butterscotch. I knew a substitute regex expression to fix you imports all at once. Ah, that would have been lovely. If I had been paying attention, that would have saved me some time there, wouldn't it? If I was a real Vim user, right, I would have used some sort of macro. Inspire quantum CNNS that increase image recognition accuracy. Another optimizer architecture that we built. Wow, you're deep in this world, Inspire, so you could definitely teach me a thing or two, huh? Inspire. Sadly, I have a feeling. Oh, you think your papers are going to get rejected? That really does suck. But I got fingers crossed. I'm hoping that doesn't happen. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you should. It sounds like you've got a wealth of knowledge, man, in a field that probably is going to become more and more important every day. When you have 3 other co-authors and you don't get accepted, it gets kind of messy. Yeah. Karch Un Monastery. Sorry if I mispronounced your username there. I'm just going to say Monastery. Can you run your code, please? Oh, yeah, for sure. So the code, all it does right now, I should say all it does, but what it basically is doing is it's running some context, which is this guy, through my transformer, and then I'm getting the logits. I'm getting the output of the model. I'm applying a softmax calculation to it to get a probability distribution. Then I'm picking the index from that output that corresponds to the highest or the largest probability, and that index I'm then using to locate the token ID, and then I use the token ID to look up the token, the text that corresponds with that ID, and that's how I'm getting this gibberish. But the reason why it's gibberish at the moment, why my completions are gibberish, is because while we've written the code to implement the model, we haven't actually trained it, which is what we're working on now. So we're basically from where we are going, or where the book is going, is now that I have this set up, I need to put together some way to evaluate the output so that then I can train the model, essentially. So I think that's the next section of the book here that we're going to step through. Although I'm looking at the time, it's already 6:30. So I don't know if we're actually going to do that tonight, or at least do it on stream. Butterscotch, you should start using the dot motion more and more. It's really helpful. It repeats the previous motion you performed. So if you don't want to repeat it again, just use dot. Okay, that's good to know. I did not know that there was a that the period repeated your previous motion. Karsh Un Monastery. Thank you, mate. Where to get book? You used to be able to buy it on Amazon, but it doesn't look like it's listed on Amazon anymore. So it looks like the only place you can get it is from Manning. So this would be the link here. Oh, maybe is that the link right here? Yeah, here we go. This is the link. It's a little pricey, $47.50, right? It's like $50, a little pricey, but I've gotten a lot of value out of it. So I'll just share this is the link to Amazon. And then Manning did have it on their website too, and I think it was actually cheaper. Yeah, it's only $26 if you buy it from Manning. So you might actually check out this link. That looks like it's cheaper if you just buy it straight from Manning. If you buy the ebook, I'm guessing the print's cheaper too, $32.99. So you might just buy it direct from Manning. If you can find the PDF out on the internet, that's that's on you. I neither encourage nor condone it, but you live your life the way you want to live it. Content Beyond Infinity. Which book is it? It's called Building a Large Language Model, or Build a Large Language Model is the book name. All right, calculating the text generation loss. Next, let's explore techniques for numerically assessing text quality generated during training by calculating a text generation loss. Interesting. This is a new thing. I've in all the things I've been doing around assessing LLM output, I've not heard of this text generation loss. Inspire. We bought a copy just to support him. Really nice guy. Also, there's part of the book / blog by him on PyTorch in an hour. Oh, very cool. I did not know that. I did not know that at all. So, Inspire, do you know this guy, or do you just mean like really nice guy because like you've like consumed a lot of his content or things? Because that's pretty cool if you know the guy. Yeah, I don't know, guys. I don't know if I'm gonna keep. I'm at 2 hours. I should probably hop and go spend some time with the family, or at least be available to the family instead of sitting on my computer for another hour. Yeah, I think that's what I'm gonna do. I'm just going to let me write this out real quick. Inspire. I've talked to him once very briefly. If saying hello, I've read your book counts. It does count. There's many people I've met at conferences that I've said, "Hey, I read your blog. I love your blog. I love all your content. Thank you so much." I think that counts for sure. Inspire. This reminds me when I cold emailed Andrew NG and he replied, I don't know who Andrew NG is. Andrew NG. British American computer scientist. I probably should know who he is what I'm guessing, since he has a Wikipedia page. I'm guessing I should. He's a co-founder and head of Google Brain. Ah, very cool. Okay. Well, yeah, that's so. If you're as somebody Inspire who's in this field, that this would be like one of the guys at the forefront of it, huh? That's pretty cool. You got to meet him. What do you think of Ghosty? Ghosty. Is that the terminal? Ghosty. I haven't used this. I have not used this. Does it work for Windows? Yeah, they don't have a Windows yet. They don't have a Windows version of it yet. Otherwise, I would definitely try it. Yeah, I don't know. Have you used it? What do you think of it? I guess maybe I'll ask that. What do you think of Ghosty? I'm pretty happy with my PowerShell setup at the moment, you know, in Windows Terminal. I've tried some other, I've tried Warp. I tried warp.dev. I think it's a really cool product. They very hard they have leaned into the AI side of things very heavily. I tried it for like 2 or 3 days, and I ended up just back in PowerShell in Windows Terminal with all my posh customizations. Inspire. It was his intro course that got me in here. Oh, that's very cool, man. That's awesome. Butterscotch, well-known guy in AI world. Yeah, I should probably know who he is then. Inspire. He teaches really well. Well, that's very cool. Yeah, people who know their subject extremely well and can teach it, right? That's rarely the same type of person, so that's cool to hear. Inspire. I main Kitty these days. What's Kitty? Kitty. Is that another cross-platform fast? Is this what you're talking about, Inspire? GPU-based terminal emulator? Huh. I haven't heard of this. It doesn't look very, like to the eye, it doesn't look very pleasing, but I'm sure you can configure it to look however you want. Yeah, I don't know. The thing with all these new tools is like you pay a price, right? Because I know how I have my existing Windows terminal set up with PowerShell and everything. I have that exactly how I want it. So if I want to move to something else, you got to go. It's just like the pain point of moving from VS Code to NeoVim, right? There's this pain point that there's this cost you're going to have to pay in terms of productivity and time to configure it and time to set it up and then time to actually use it long enough to actually become proficient in it. I do like hearing about everybody's different tools. It's just at this time I'm like, man, do I pay the price to try to switch to something, or do I just stick with what I know and love? unless there's a real compelling reason, right, to switch. Yeah, another terminal. Butterscotch. Windows terminal works for me. Yeah, it's been working for me fine. I mean, you can do all the split the window and what is it, Alt Shift minus or Alt Shift plus. So yeah, it's been working for me just fine. Inspire. Sadly, I despise Windows too much to use it often. Just for games / web development jobs, if any. Fair enough. Suhas, I am back. Well, Suhas, I'm glad to have you back, but I think I'm actually getting ready to dip myself. Obviously, if you guys want to hang out or interact outside of stream, Discord's the best place to do that, I think. So my homework, the homework I'm taking away from this stream is I'm going to try to figure out how to set up OBS so that I can stream vertically and horizontally. I'm going to try to do that at least once before the end of this week and see how it goes. I'm kind of concerned at like what the bandwidth looks like for doing that, but yeah, we should at least give it a try. Enough people have asked about it and have been curious about it that we should give it a go. How do I close this? I can't remember. What is the Control Shift W? Control-Shift-W. There we go. See you, Butterscotch. Bye, Suas. Bye. See you, Inspire. Yeah, appreciate you. Thank you guys for hanging out with me and keeping me company and watching me stumble through some Python code and try to learn more about transformers. I'll be back tomorrow at some point during the day. Like I said, I want to commit to a schedule, but at the same time, I know just with work and life and stuff, that's sometimes difficult. But I'm going to do my best to try to stream during the afternoon. So if you're around, stop on in and say hi. Yeah. All right, guys. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye, y'all. Bye. Oh, my customary sign off. Have a good rest of your Tuesday. And if it's already Wednesday for you, have a good rest of your Wednesday. And I'll talk to you guys next time.